Let's bring you back to Johannesburg now. The Joburg Property Owners and Managers Association warning that planned water, sewage and electricity hikes are going to be devastating for ratepayers. Of course it is. The city, they say, not taking into consideration the tough times that people are experiencing due to COVID-19. Well, let's unpack this and find out if there's a way forward. I'm joined by the association's general manager. It's Angela Rivers. Angela, good morning to you. We'll talk about the response and hopefully the fight back that you'll have against the city itself for these increases. I suppose you can probably help me make more sense of this. One part of the anger is not just the increase in the potential rates, but the fact that half these services aren't working most of the time.
Yes, that is true. We're paying for services and we're pumping money into a city and we're not getting what we're paying for. And I think for us, because the Johannesburg Property Owners and Managers Association, which we'll just call JPOMA for short, we work specifically in the markets of affordable housing. So while these increases are very drastic, they're really going to affect the poorest of the poor. And that is our focus, it's unacceptable. I mean, a perfect example of this is if you live in a 300 square meter property, you will be paying the exact same sewer rates as somebody living in a 26 square meter flat in the inner city. Those costs get passed on to the tenants in the inner city. So that's an extra 240 Rand that they now have to find, where someone in the 300 square meters is paying the exact same amount. And there's no fairness between the way that the city has looked at the tariffs, and there's no proper discrimination, a balance between high income earners and low income earners. There's no support for that middle band. And that is really our fight. Our fight is the affordable housing market. A couple of 100 Rand here for some of us doesn't make a difference, but for people in the inner city, this is a difference between feeding their family for the night.
Yeah, Angela, let me ask you about this for a second. What is the justification given from the city for these increases? Do they at least try and explain or justify why these increases are needed?
The answer to it is that they need the money. That is the answer. I cannot expand further than that. Their only answer is that they need the money. I would love to know where the money is going that we are pumping into, because I can tell you JPOMA members alone pay 85 million Rand a month to the city of Johannesburg for services. 85 million Rand. And that's just one group of organization just in the inner city. We're not even our focus is the CBD. And that's scary. Where's 85 million Rand every month?
The cause that I'm going to use the example you used earlier now. Let's try and find some solutions. Perhaps the city of Joburg is watching you and I talk at the moment, and somebody who maybe you haven't spoken to is watching. So how do we try and find a solution to this? You mentioning about the square meterage and the amount of sewage being paid. We can't just not pay our rates and taxes, and I know that's not what you're calling for, obviously. So just give me some practicals that the city of Joburg hopefully is listening at the moment, and they can hear you.
We have been fighting with the city for a very long time to get them to recognize the affordable housing sector within the inner city. There should be special rates and discounts for people who are living in high density, high rise properties. Another perfect example is you will get charged, Pick It Up will charge you per flat. A cost per flat in the inner city. And you might only be using 10 bins, but you will get charged every single flat. There's no consideration for the minimal income that's coming into the inner city. Currently, we're losing tenants every day because it's become unaffordable. 24% of our tenants' living expenses go to council expenses. Wow. That's a quarter of what they are paying towards living is going to council. It's unfair, and it's inconsiderate for people who are in that. We work specifically within the income bracket of 3,500 Rand to 8,000 Rand. So that market has been neglected. They don't earn enough. They earn too much for social housing and the ESP, the council's ESP, and there's this gap in the market that needs to be looked at and really considered.
Angela, what do we, as I begin saying goodbye to you in the last 30 seconds or so, where do you go to from here, though? Clearly very angry. I'm sure your members are as well. You're saying the city doesn't care. They just want money. But what's the next step? What are you going to do when you and I finish talking now to try and help the residents?
So we have put a plan in place. Our first plan is this PR campaign. We're going to the press. We've put out press releases. The council doesn't like to be in the press for anything negative. So that is our first weapon. And failing that, we will have no choice but to go to court and hold them accountable for it.
I appreciate your time in speaking to us this morning, and it seems it might very well be going that way, unfortunately, but fighting the good fight for those who can't do it. Angela Rivers from the Johannesburg Property Owners and Managers Association. You can't just say they want the money, they need the money. We want to know where that money is going. Where's the accountability? Where's 85 million rand going? City of Joburg, there's answers that we need. Let's take a look at your business.